Hey everyone, Sean and Dave here from Saturday Morning Cartoons. We cannot start this week's show, absolutely cannot start this week's show, until we thank the following people who went to patreon.com to sponsor this show.
Derek Haynes,
Alex Kazanis,
Jack Connolly,
Jonathan Renteria Elye,
Bill Dixon,
the wonderful Melanie Harker,
Dr. Jason Woods,
oh, the fantastic Allison Keene,
the alright Jamal Newman,
the so-so John Helter,
Battle Mat Fitness,
the wonderful David Trumbore,
and the one and only Sean Paul Ellis. Hey, out there, if you guys want to be on this list or just want to know what's coming up next week on the show, check out patreon.com/Saturday Morning Cartoons for more details. And remember, that's morning with a U.
Thank you so much for sponsoring us. Thank you so much for listening. And now, on with the show.
Hello, ho, 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 and welcome to a special Christmas-themed episode of Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from an unnamed but perfect town, I'll be your co-host, Dave Trumbore, and if you co-host a cartoon podcast, you're gonna need a buddy. So here's Sean Paul Ellis. How's it going, Sean?
David, I'm doing well, buddy. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Did you like that Santa stopped by for a brief cameo appearance?
I was glad that Santa stopped by. I hope by the end of this show he stops by again.
He wasn't looking great though. He looked a little green around the gills, as they say, as the old folks say. So we'll keep an eye on it.
If you're an eternal spirit delivering toys to children,
can you get
breaking into homes?
Can you get hantavirus?
Yeah, can you get hantavirus? Is that can that
That's the
happen?
question for tonight's podcast.
What if he is a typhoid Mary?
Ooh, he could be a carrier.
Yeah, it could
Holy
be
shit,
patient
that is
zero.
Dark. And I was gonna try not
Dark.
to swear this entire episode because it's about a kids show, but it's too late. That's dark. A dark Christmas story where Santa is a carrier of a lethal virus and he's visiting literally every Christian home, I guess, in the world. That's how the world.
And then he just
ends.
shows up and he coughs a bunch, and you're like, ugh, could you not? And he's like, I don't know. I've got this kind of in my throat. And you're like, please, Santa, just don't do that. Really don't. Just.
But the
stop.
worst part is, like,
leave. Please
you
leave.
never interact with him. So he just rolls into your house in the middle of the night, coughs this disease all over the place, and then you and your family wake up infected the next morning. You're dead by New Year's. Merry Christmas.
Like, if you're anything like me and you don't want to make New Year's plans, this
great way to
seems
go.
like a dream scenario. This seems like a dream scenario.
But
for
of
me.
all the like world-ending, Emmerich Bay movies that we've had over the years, why was this never one that was greenlit?
I don't know. I feel like this could be the end of this could be the bookend to a wonderful series or trilogy of movies that we have.
I was wondering if it would be like the final chapter in the Santa Claus series with Tim Allen.
Oh, I was gonna say 28 Days Later.
We can combine the two. Who
28
knew they
weeks
existed in a
later.
shared universe? Or Tim Allen's diseased Santa Claus infects the entire world and brings about the death of humanity.
I like it. I like it a lot.
It's got dark. Let's
Man.
lighten things up a little bit. What are we talking about tonight?
Guys, we are talking about the Amazon Prime exclusive If You Give a Mouse a Christmas Cookie.
That sounds familiar,
Yeah.
but with like a holiday twist.
Oh, well, let me give you a little bit of background and history on this. So, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie is a classic children's book that is written by Laura Numeroff and illustrated by Felicia Bond, first published in 1985. Described as a circular tale. Get it? Wink, because he has a tail? But it's not spelled that way. Don't worry. It is Numeroff and Bond's first collaboration in what became the If You Give series. A pilot for the animated series adaptation of If You Give a Mouse a Cookie was released on Amazon Prime in 2015, followed by the Christmas special If You Give a Mouse a Christmas Cookie in 2016, with a full series November 7th, 2017 this year.
How about that? You can go check it out now.
Yeah. Guys, just spend $100 on a Prime membership, and then you too can watch If You Give a Mouse a Christmas Cookie.
It's literally the only benefit that is worth the price of the membership. Everything else is just kind of like a cherry on top, or sprinkles if you want. But this is like this is what you buy it for. Let me ask you this: when I say if you give a mouse a cookie, what comes to mind?
Like honestly,
You can make it up if you want.
like,
I won't know the difference.
no, I'm not. It's like food safety, food sanitation, and like
That's the
somebody
first
coming
thing that
in and
comes to
like
mind?
and grading a restaurant with like an F and putting it out there, and then the family business having to like shut down because they didn't put up a mouse trap because they were like, we need to catch it in a humane way. I'm like, no, there's no humane way sometimes to catch a
So
rodent.
between Santa infecting
I'm sorry, everybody who's out there that loves
the
rodents.
entire human species and the death of the middle class, thanks to food inspection, we're off to a dark start. I'll tell you this: when I hear if you give a mouse a cookie, I think of the actual kids' books. I think of my mom reading these. Well, I think probably just the first kids' book to me when I was real little. I was born in '83, so this is probably like prime time to get these books.
I'll be honest, I don't remember
Really?
this book. And I have two young nieces now, and I read some books to them when I saw them over Thanksgiving, and this was not one of the ones that was up on the
How
table.
old are they?
So I'm kind of like 14 months and 3 years old.
Oh yeah, I mean the 3-year-old's probably
Yeah,
pretty
this
good
is
for them.
like prime time for
Yeah,
her.
this is like logic puzzle stuff. Yeah.
I did read her a book that had a mouse in it, but it was a mouse as a ballerina.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
We had a pig who's an attempting to be a ballerina in this one, but spoiler alert, we're not there yet. What I love about this, okay, so I only ever heard if you give a mouse a cookie. I had my mom read me that when I was little. There's like if you give a pig a pancake, if you give a dog a donut, if you give a moose a muffin, if you give a cat a cupcake or something. There's a whole series of these things.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
that's where all these characters came from.
That's where all the animals come from. Yeah, come from all those. And it's kind of cool because
Wow,
it
man.
sets up the stories for little kids. Like it's an if-then scenario, right? So it's a very, very basic logic puzzle. But the series kind of has to blow it up a little bit bigger than that. So they add a lot more kind of like plot and narrative and crazy stuff to it. And those adventures kind of spiral out beyond just the if-then scenario. But like you mentioned, the circular tale, these usually start one way. Like if you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to something else. But it always comes back around to the beginning of where they started. So that way the kids can just be like, again, and hit you over the head with a frying pan. And that's how that works.
Whoa, what? What has been your experience with
From
kids?
dinosaurs.
Oh, not the mama.
Exactly. A throwback to 1996, I think.
Oh my god, yeah. Wow. I guess I didn't realize that it was a whole series of different logic books, but I'm glad that they're trying to get kids in on that STEAM track of learning with intro to programming as a part of if you give a mouse a cookie with some conditional logic. So congratulations, future software developers. I'm excited to be among your ranks.
Good work. It's a good start.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's about as far as it goes. It doesn't progress much more intellectually from there. It's just fun. It's fun for a little kid story. So we're talking about the 2016 Christmas special tonight. And here's a little bit about what that's about. So if it's holiday time and Mouse's house, then that means Christmas cookies, including a special one for Santa, of course, caroling, and one nearly destroyed holiday pageant are on the way. Can Mouse and his animal friends save the show without getting utterly distracted along the way? It's a wild ride as Mouse and his friends embody the friendship and caring at the heart of the holiday season. Coming to a Hallmark channel near you. Just kidding, it's only on Amazon Prime. And they will hold on to this with claws for the rest of their lives.
Forever. This, I think, the confusing portion of this is that there are these animals that are living side by side with humans, and they're anthropomorphic, and they can speak, but at the same time, there's only this handful of these 5 that are part of these logical if-then statements?
Yeah, it seems that way. I actually had a chance to talk to the executive producer and writer, Ken Scarborough, and he's
Ooh,
yeah, I know,
do
everybody's
tell.
real champing at the bit. He he championed this back in 2015 for the pilot. It was probably 2014 when he was actually working on it, and has been with it through their pilot process that you're probably familiar with from Amazon, the Christmas special, and now the new series that's out. And he basically said that they had to go from just the mouse and his human pal they had to like expand the cast, expand the story a little bit. So yeah, they're just kind of focused on like this 5 core groups of animal friends who, in his words, the animals are kind of like the children of the children. So the kids are kind of, they're old enough, they're mature enough, they know enough things that they can kind of watch out for the animals and kind of like teach them lessons. So it's interesting as a kid watching this, like who do you gravitate towards? Like do you, are you gonna like all the animal characters and see yourself in them, or are you gonna see yourself as sort of their caretakers and as their older brothers kind of thing, their older friends?
I mean, I kind of had to bucket a lot of the people that were in here into 3 distinct buckets.
What buckets
for
do you
myself?
got?
One of them are the animals who seem to get distracted at every turn. The next is Oliver all by himself, because that man has an enormous amount of chill, and everything that happens, he's like, "Oh, Mouse, it's okay. Don't worry, we'll figure it out."
So frustrated on his behalf, and I realized that Oliver is a better man than I.
And I think that the third and final bucket are all the background adult characters that show up and don't say a single word, but like look you square in the eye and kind of nod their head, but they're secretly judging you the entire time. That's the bucket I identify.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I think I'm probably, I'm not in any of these buckets. I'm bucketless. I guess I'm a dead-eyed
That's
adult.
okay.
Damn it.
I mean, you could have a fourth bucket that's the teacher, who is like highly organized and sort of orchestrating everything and
doesn't know really what's going on. That sounds like me. That sounds 100% like me.
I didn't want to telegraph it, but at the same time,
the more I talked it out, the more I'm like, yeah, that's 100%.
Oh, we came to that conclusion together.
I'm sad about it. Okay, before we get too much into the show tonight, though, we always start with a theme song, and this one is super special because it's not just one theme song. This is kind of a musical episode with a bunch of Christmas and holiday music, but there's an even more especial little flavor to this. So what else is going on with the music for If You Give a Mouse a Christmas Cookie?
Cookie Mouse.
Let's Cookie Mouse.
I
almost called him Christmas Mouse, and that was a whole different thing.
Cookie Mouse has a fantastic earworm of a musical theme song intro that is written and sung by Lisa Loeb.
What?
Guys, yeah, I know. Some say, you only hear what you wanted, Dave. No, I won't. Don't worry. Lisa Loeb sings this, and it is delightful and it is fun. There's a lot of sort of non-specific Christmas celebratory comments that are in it that don't denote a specific religious denomination, which is kind of nice to see. I think the thing that was delightful and fun about this is that they had a message about holiday cheer and decoration that was not specific to any particular celebration, to a Hanukkah, Christmas, or Kwanzaa that they have throughout the month of December. And so these things were sort of all-inclusive, and it was nice because they had some little nods to some of those specific celebrations that we have during the month, but it wasn't too overwhelming. A lot of it was very nice, simple nods.
Yeah, there's jingle bells in the back of the whole thing.
And the theme song kind of complemented that.
I mean, it is, give a mouse a Christmas cookie. So obviously the main family is going to be celebrating Christmas, and it's going to be Christmas focused. But the fact that they're like, hey, it's not just Christmas, there's other stuff going on too. It's not, they don't hit you over the head with it, but they're also not like trying to exclude everything else but Christmas at the same time. In other words, it's like real life. People celebrate Christmas, people celebrate other stuff, so it's all part of it.
I mean, that portion when they reenacted the scene in the manger and they had Mouse play Baby Jesus, I was like, this might be overboard.
That doesn't happen.
No, I'm kidding. That never happened, guys.
Deleted scene.
Don't worry. If you got upset about us saying that, then you're
why have
gonna
you been
die
listening to this
because who gives a shit?
Not the show for you. Pick one of the other 181 episodes, maybe give that a shot. But no, the music I thought was nice. It was very catchy. There are jingle bells kind of jangling in the background throughout the whole thing, but it's basically just like a jingle bell background, a little acoustic guitar, and some piano riffs through it, and it's just a very cute song. And we kind of see, we're introduced to this town. It's definitely winter. It's kind of everything's snow covered and people are hanging decorations. And it's just a cute intro to the whole thing. It gives you a really nice look at the animation style, which we'll talk about in a second. So you can kind of get used to that for before you dive into the show itself. You get a glimpse of that.
Right.
It's Lisa Loeb. And she did, I think, the arrangements for most of the, if not all of the music in this. There is a lot of Christmas music, so like the heavy lifting's already been done, Lisa. But for the most part, the original songs and stuff, she does a great job. I hope she's listening.
I just like that you're calling her out on this.
Lisa.
Like, come on, Lisa. Get it together, Lisa. Yeah. I've been singing and humming this theme song since I began listening to this episode. Yeah, this theme song. Like it is stuck in my head. I will be singing it probably.
The cute thing about it
hours.
is like if you read the books, then there's your if then. This will be in your mind for like years and years and years because it's such a simple conceit. If you give a mouse a cookie, and then she incorporates that into the song. So she's just not saying that over and over again, like the title of the song just being driven into your head. She's, she says it, and then it's kind of a cute kind of like way to tease you into the show itself. Like, if you give a mouse a cookie, wait till you see what happens next. Something like that. So it's kind of a cute way to tie the title in, but also lead into the show itself, which I thought was good, especially for a kid's show. Did a good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Lisa, giving you a hard time. All right. Anything else
Absolutely.
from music? How about music overall? Because it does pop up quite a bit in the show. So before we jump to anything else, how do you feel about the music the rest of the show? Yeah.
I thought it was enjoyable. I mean, I'm trying to get a little bit more into the holiday season right now. And so this served as a pleasant bridge to kind of guide me over my
Humbuggery?
sort of post-Thanksgiving. Yeah, my humbuggery from like post-Thanksgiving and Halloween into something that's a little bit more imaginative, delightful, and fanciful.
There were like the kind of the traditional carols in this one. There were some original songs too. The animals are all hanging out, just kind of singing a song before they go over to meet Oliver and Mouse for some Christmas cookies. That was cute. I loved at the end, there's supposed to be like a spontaneous thing where one of the animal creatures kind of takes over a show, takes over a musical performance, and all these kids, like the grade school kids, it looks like they're doing like improv, but they happen to improv like songs from the Nutcracker. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to do that when I was like 6 or 8 years old. Just be like, oh yeah, I can 100% play the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy on this flute. I like that though. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought it was fun to just get Kat to sort of like play like those first like 6 or 7 notes of Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, and then suddenly have all the kids look at him like wide-eyed, like, oh,
I've been practicing this on the slide.
Can't wait.
Knew, but somehow we all did it together.
Especially the kid on the triangle. He's like, this is my time to shine.
It was cute, though. But no, the music throughout is fun. I mean, especially because it's like it's kind of a sing-along for the little kids and stuff at home. So it's kind of nice. And then, the traditional Christmas carols that are there throughout, too. You got your Silent Night. You got your Nutcracker Suite. All kinds of good stuff.
What'd you think about that music behind that poetry slam?
Well, it was Silent Night, so I thought it was fine. Yeah. Poetry slam a little less.
That's how I want all my poetry slams
a bunch of kids dressed as snowflakes
to be scored with.
Just humming Silent Night, no matter what time of year. All right, let's get into animation style because I think there's a bit to talk about here. I'm curious to know what you thought of how this thing looks.
Again, I had to bucket it into a couple different pieces. There was some that was very traditional, hand-drawn, solid, shaded animation. The second portion of it was what looked like, and I had to look this up to actually see some of the drawing from the original book, but trying to capture the animation style for some of these main characters that we've talked about, like pig, kitten, dog, mouse especially. So you're kind of seeing a lot of the influences of the original art being infused into the show. And it's interesting because it can sometimes be really wonderful to kind of see, especially on Kat. I think Kat's face had a lot of the distinct animation for me that I kept looking at over and over and over again. And Oliver's hair, for some reason, had like interesting shading to it. I thought it was fun. It just, there were times when that singular character was sort of
Yeah.
in center view, and everything else was just sort of the traditional animated style that it really kind of set itself apart and made that character
Definitely.
pop or come into the foreground. It wasn't off-putting, but I enjoyed it. It was something different. And I liked the fact that they tried to grab some of the influences from the
Yeah, I
original
think that was my
work.
main takeaway from this is that I liked how closely it looks like a paper illustration. Like not just that they match the character
Yeah.
designs and color and things like that, but it looks like if one of these books came to life and they literally animated a page from the book. What would it look like with today's technology? And that's kind of what it looks like. It looks like a paper cutout kind of on a real background, which is kind of neat.
Well, you know what they say, if you give a cat a crayon,
And go on.
then he'll
Oh,
make an
wow.
Amazon Prime
This is
show.
made by an actual cat with a crayon.
Yeah, that's how this works.
We've
Animation
been
studios are
overthinking this for
weird.
years. It was that simple. But no, I love it.
You could have given your cat a
Probably just
crayon
end
at
up-
any
he'd
time.
Probably just shit it out. So it's a whole nother mess. Yeah, I love the illustrations. I love the style of it. I actually really like how fluid. That is a terrible follow-up to cat shit comment, but I love how fluid the animation is through this thing, especially in the opening because we get to see Mouse kind of like running from his little bed area and making his way downstairs. And he gets to do that through a number of kind of really fun little mini sequences that show off the animation, the environment, the setting that he's in. Very, very, very colorful and fairly well detailed backgrounds. It's not just kind of like smears of like watercolor or whatever in the background. Like you get to see wallpaper, you get to see decoration, you get to see lights hung, you get to see stuff on the floor in the kids' room, toys, all kinds of fun stuff. And the thing I really liked about it is that they handled scale really well. And that's tough to do because you've got Mouse, who's only, 2 apples high or whatever. You've got the kid, Oliver, who's regular kid size. And then all the other animals are various sizes. So most of them are bigger than Mouse, but smaller than Oliver. Moose is huge. He's about as big as the adults that are walking around. And you've got adults in this place too. So you have to frame the rooms and the houses and the streets and everything like a normal house or room or street. It's got to look practical. It's got to make sense for that setting. Everything's not just on like a miniature scale. So Mouse is like just this tiny little mouse sitting on a cupboard. But I love when they have shots of like Mouse in the foreground, Oliver in the background standing back in the kitchen, but it looks like they're, kind of on the same footing, kind of similar size when they're talking to each other. And there's a lot of really subtle shots like that
Right.
throughout that they have a really fun time with the scale of things and having Mouse live in a human-sized world. I thought was pretty neat.
Even just some of the moments where you have
Yeah.
Moose holding
Yeah.
Mouse in his hand, and he's just this
Oh,
giant moose knuckle, just holding the.
sorry.
Wow, come on! He's just got this giant.
literally just a
what
moose, yeah.
That's what it is. It's
Paw, I guess
it's
you could
moose
say.
knuckle, and so
Hoof,
he's
hoof.
paw.
Is he
hand,
cloven? I don't
hoof?
know. Can you eat moose?
Can he? I mean, I guess
can
you
eat
can eat anything. I guess can. So he
Yeah.
he's holding him in his hand, and it's kind of fun to see the difference of size. They almost tread dangerously close to sort of some weird Ratatouille
Yeah.
moments with Mouse on top
Yes.
of people's heads and then possibly under people's hats. And I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. We've
Mhm.
already done this show. It was fantastic.
Please
Please
don't
don't
do
do it again.
Let's talk about
Please don't do it again.
hygiene for a moment before we get into the plot of this thing or the characters themselves. How uncomfortable does this make you feel?
On a scale from normal to
Bubonic plague.
to bubonic plague, this is like Lysol the kitchen several times.
That's it,
for
though?
me.
Oh, like your own kitchen, like in the real world after watching this cartoon. Like you clean your own
Yeah,
kitchen.
in the real world
Got
in my
it,
own
okay.
kitchen. Yes, correct.
Yeah, I mean the kid is
Yeah.
kind of hanging out with a mouse the entire time, and they're not just like palling around out in the world. I mean they're like making food together, and I don't know. It was just a little. I know it's a kid show and it's cute, it's super fun and everything, but there were moments where I was just like, you probably shouldn't have that dirty ass mouse on your kitchen counter when you're making Christmas cookies. I'm sorry.
There were moments when Oliver and Mouse are like, he's holding him close to his face, and they're kind of like
Yeah.
snuggling together. He's like rubbing him against his face. And I know in my brain, I'm like, oh, that's a
Right.
cute moment.
But
But in
his trousers are
in
full
my
of mouth shit. Because he is incontinent.
in my in my garbage, sarcastic, nihilistic Sean brain, I'm like, get that fucking dirty mouse away from you. I don't know about you, but I had mice as a pet
Did you?
growing
Actually,
up.
like mice?
Yeah, we had 3 mice, and it turned out that we had 1 male and 2 female, and then suddenly we had a dozen mice, and shortly thereafter, their kids. Then we had about maybe 24 mice, and then it was just bad. I have a very distinct memory of my dad having to explain to me. He's like, so I've been feeding them the normal amount, and I've been increasing it obviously as their family's been growing. He's like, but sometimes they get really hungry, and I'm like,
What?
okay. He's like, they ate some of their own, and I was like, what? And that was because I was counting them, and I was like, oh, are we missing 2 or 3? And my dad's like, no. I mean,
technically, yes. In pieces of them are there.
Kind of
So
no.
I didn't know where this was going to go. I thought we were going to have opposite stories, but we have strikingly similar stories. I didn't have mice. We found what apparently was what's called a dwarf Russian hamster. I know, bizarre.
Jesus.
Just running around in like the gutter outside of our street, outside of our house, in the street, just randomly.
What?
And my dad.
How? I didn't think hamsters could be out in the
wild. Like,
wild.
it must have been somebody's pet, and it just somehow got loose, and it just ended up in the alley, like right in front of our house. My dad scooped it up. The only thing I had there at the time was this little like carrying thing. So we put it in that, and then I basically like had an old fish tank that it wasn't being used. It was just dry old fish tank. So we put the thing in there, put some bedding down and everything. Maybe a week later, and it was by itself. It was one little hamster by itself. So I was like, okay, cool. I got a hamster now. That's weird, I guess. Like about a week later, I wake up to this like tiny little like squeaking sound. I was like, what the shit? And I looked over, and in the aquarium is the little, apparently mama hamster, and like 6 or 8 little tiny, like the size of like a Pez, little babies. So I was like, oh, that's super cool.
Wow.
So I went and got my mom and dad and showed them, whatever. The next morning I woke up. I did not hear any squeaking. I went over to the aquarium. The mom was still there, and then there was just blood-covered, like the sawdust, the shavings, in the bed of the aquarium. I was just like,
Jesus,
holy shit! I don't remember how old I was. Probably like 12 or 13, so it wasn't quite as bad. I was just like, well, I guess she ate all the children. So like one day I'm just like, the hamster had babies, and next day I'm like, the hamster ate all the babies. That's a really fucked up day. You had a question?
No. I had a. This is, I guess, the final. I liked hamsters when I was growing up, and I had a bunch of them. So I had these distinct moment of going to a mall in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and we bought a hamster, and they would put them in these like corrugated cardboard. They looked like McDonald's Happy Meal containers that they would put them in. And it was inside one of those, and then inside a plastic bag.
Holy God!
I know it was weird, but they put the plastic. You wouldn't hold the plastic bag and tie it shut.
Close it,
but they put it.
Test them for toughness.
Just cinch it and be like, I wonder how long they can. How long?
No,
I don't even want to continue with that. That's fucked up.
This is a dark episode. I apologize if you are
a dark episode.
Or a child who has stumbled into this unknowing. Feel free to turn it off now. It's too late for you, but definitely too late for us.
The hamster that we had bit out of the Happy Meal container, bit out of the plastic bag, crawled up the bag, and bit my mom in the webbing of her hand. And she started bleeding all over a CVS, like profusely. Like, oh my God. And she screamed and like flung her hand, which sends the hamster like flying. And those things are like unbelievably indestructible. And so like it hit the ground, did like a perfect dismount sort of somersault, at the very end, and somebody managed to capture it and put it back in the thing. But like we went back to the pet store in the mall and we're just like,
nope,
we are returning these.
Take these back.
These are not coming home with us.
That's crazy. I mean, we've had all kind of pets, but I've never had any incidents like that.
Cannibalistic pets?
Just the one cannibalistic dwarf Russian hamster.
Same.
What a terrifying thing
Easy.
that was. But luckily, and if you give a mouse a Christmas cookie, it does not end with he will turn into a cannibal and eat his young. So that's good news. Maybe the Halloween special will go that dark.
Everyone, there is so much delightful stuff in this cartoon that is in no way, shape, or form based off of the experiences that Dave and I have had with pets.
We're not doing it justice. Let's get into
geez.
each of the characters as we talk about the plot points tonight, because I think each of the characters kind of they only really reveal themselves and their personalities as they're kind of like in action. You know, you kind of get a look at each of them.
Let's do it.
So we mentioned earlier that Mouse, when he wakes up, he smells the Christmas cookies baking, so he has a really fun way of getting downstairs. He like busts out of his little bed, which is just like this little tiny little blanket. It's super cute. I love things that are like for scale like that. So if he had like a little shoe or something that would be like his bed, I always think stuff like that's super cute, because it kind of takes me back to childhood, right? When you're using stuff for like your action figures or whatever to try to like
yeah.
So he goes through some kind of like Rube Goldberg style.
Oh no! So he parkours and then he like Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey trapezes himself into a Rube Goldberg device that then allows him to continue to parkour downstairs. The entire first 2 minutes of this show, if you're curious what it sounds like, close your eyes right now. Hopefully, if you're not driving, if you are, pull over.
Pull up. This is very important. Please pull over.
Yeah, this is very, very important. These are the sounds for the first 2 minutes. And that's it. That's the only sound.
It's weird. I just watched a video like that before we started the podcast tonight.
Yeah, that's the
what? Huh?
But that's the entire first 2 minutes of this show is him parkouring, trapezing, Rube Goldberg, further parkouring his way downstairs, and he is just continuing to just make giggle circus noises the entire way down.
Giggle jumps and circus noises is what he does. Imagine giggle jumps. So you want to be a voice actor. This is your first day on the job.
Yep.
Giggle jumps and circus noises is all you get to do.
Giggle jumps.
He's great at giggling. He giggles a lot. Mouse is a very fun-loving, kind of like freewheeling character. If he sees something that looks fun, he's going to do it. Doesn't matter what else is going on at the time. It's not as bad as like, oh, that's a shiny thing, I need to check it out. It's more like, that looks like a really fun event or something I really like to do, so let's go do that now. And just like completely sidetracks whatever he was doing before. So I thought it was a fun way for him to kind of get downstairs, because they made that into something that could have just been boring, right? If he just opened the door, walked out, and like slid down the banister, like that's fine. I've seen Home Alone, but like this is a way more fun way for him to get downstairs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if he's giggling and circus jumping or whatever the whole way.
He's just giggle jumping. Just giggle jumping the whole way.
But then we get our
I had to stop the show at the point where he finally got in the kitchen. I was like, how long have I heard him giggle jump for? Over 2 minutes.
Giggle jumping and Lisa Loeb singing in the background. But then we get our first introduction to Oliver, who is this kid, I don't know how old he's supposed to be, but he is very mature for his age. I don't think I was baking cookies by myself without parental supervision until I was maybe 10 or 12 at the earliest.
I don't think my parents would not let me around an oven until that point, because they continued to loom the threat over top of me of you'll burn the house down if you use the oven. I'm like, I don't think you understand how ovens actually work. Like, I put food into it on a baking sheet, and then food comes out hot.
For 34 years, I've been pretty good with kitchen safety. For the first time in my life, I managed to set a stovetop on fire the other day.
What
the worst part? It's an electric stove.
Oh, come on, dude.
I set an electric burner on fire the other day.
How did you?
And I just kind of stood there staring at the flames like, this really doesn't compute. I'm not 100% sure how to handle this.
Oh, I thought you were just staring at it and being like, "Hello, darkness."
Yeah, just holding my palm over it for as long as I
Yeah.
possibly could.
Oh, Jesus.
Golly, this is a dark ep. Whoa!
Whoa.
No, everything's fine. I'm living.
Guys,
I'm living with some friends now. Now everything's fine. So,
is everybody
is
ready for the
everyone ready for-
holidays?
practice kitchen
Get
safety.
ready.
Go test that fire extinguisher. You never know when you might need it.
Jesus.
But no, this kid, like, I think as soon as I was able to comfortably like reach and be taller than the stove or the countertop, so you wouldn't have to like hold a blender from down below the counter, then I could make this stuff. And this kid is probably that age, but he's very accomplished. Like he is calm, he is level-headed, he's very cool when he talks to Mouse, and like he takes his kind of like crazy energy in stride and like calms him down and keeps him focused.
Understanding, empathetic, incredibly reasonable and level-headed. And at whatever age he's at, I wish that I was at that point now in my life.
Because like if this mouse, look, this mouse comes in, he's like, "What are you doing? Making cookies." They're not round cookies. Like he's like really upset that they're like weirdly shaped cookies. And Oliver just kind of laughs. He's like, "Oh, Mouse, it's because they're Christmas cookies." And then they go through all the shapes and everything, which is super cute. But Mouse is just kind of like, he's the child. Remember that. Mouse and his animal friends, they're the children in this scenario. So everything is like new and confusing and bright and shiny to them. And their id is like the thing that needs to be satisfied. So he's like, "Cool, I just ran through all these cookie shapes. I want a cookie." And if you give a mouse a cookie,
yeah, he's going to have to have a glass of milk.
gotta do. So that leads us to
Gotta
our
have a glass
first
of
kind of like montage. Those two are making cookies, which again leads to some hygiene issues, especially when Mouse is like completely submerged in a pile of flour that is eventually going to be used to make the cookies. I was kind of crawly the whole time. No,
And that wasn't even the part that I was freaked. I wasn't freaked out about that. I was freaked out about him ice skating on the baking tray
and the butter,
with
but
his
that at
feet
least
on
was
the
practical,
butter.
right? Because it's like
That
his little mouse feet and his mouse heat. They're gonna melt them butter pads and get it all.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Did you just say that it was practical to use a mouse in the kitchen,
It's like a butter
as a
softener
KitchenAid
and a
tool?
pan greaser. I don't know what the problem is with this.
Oh, Dave.
That's what I do.
Dave.
You take a mouse out of a
What?
pack, put his little feet on the
Wait,
butter.
hold on. Did your kitchen stovetop light
I
on
just
fire
had a
because you let a
butter-footed
mouse cook?
running across the stove?
Did you let a mouse cook in your
kitchen?
kitchen?
It
Jesus.
may have led to a grease fire, but
If you get, if you give a mouse
And a
a
yeah.
match.
it's gonna happen.
A butterfly.
No, it's this cute little montage for them,
God.
and it also brings the rest of the friends over, right? So all the other animal friends are out there caroling, or what were Dog and his buddy doing? They were building a snowman, or just like playing out in the snow.
Yeah, they were building a snowman.
Yeah, so they all head over to Oliver's house, which is super cute. You get everybody all together at the same time. Here's a good place to talk about the different characters. So who kind of stood out to you for whatever reason?
Dog,
Okay, why?
because he looks like a pile of lumpy mashed potatoes.
Oh, poor Dog. He's a white dog with I think one brown spot around his eye.
And then he's got like some brown spots like on his body.
Yes. Poor Dog.
Yeah.
He's a little slow. Dog's a little slow.
He needs a lot of attention. Let's put it that way.
He does need attention, but he's very loyal, I guess, probably because Dog.
Yeah, I could see him being. He's a very baselined character.
Yes.
He's not too crazy or eccentric or impulsive like Mouse.
Right. Yeah, he's
but
a little more low key.
But he's not somebody who's also like gonna go out of their way like Cat to do something. He's like, if you're looking for
to take the initiative, yeah.
If you're looking for a real even middle of the road character, lumpy mashed potato dog.
Oh, poor Dog.
Oh, come
I
on.
did like Cat for that reason though, because Cat was kind of like a go-getter, take charge. These guys will eventually screw something up pretty majorly, and Cat not only tells each of them what to do, but also takes charge of the situation to help kind of put things right. Also, Cat gets a really cool inspirational moment at the end of this whole thing, which was really nice too. So Cat would honestly be like the leader of the bunch that just doesn't have the recognition or the name in the title for whatever reason. For me, probably Moose was like the weirdest character. It just seems like a weird character to pair up with the rest of these, but it was also fun. And there's like weird things. So I guess from the books, the Moose was a fan of knitting.
Oh,
I guess
really?
that was the thing from the books. Yeah. So you see a moose knitting early on in this one, and then they kind of like throw that aside. And Moose and Mouse pair up for the rest of the episode. Did you know Moose and Mouse are voiced by the same actor?
I did, yes.
Isn't that cool?
He voices a ton of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It was weird to sort of hear his voice and immediately just be like, I'm pretty sure that actor, who we're talking about, Roger Craig Smith, has done tons and tons of other stuff. It's just a very recognizable voice.
It is, but I thought it was fun that he was doing Moose and Mouse. And I think Scarborough said that sometimes he would do them. He would read the page of dialogue and just alternate back and forth. Because there's a lot of dialogue between Moose and Mouse, and he just flipped them back and forth rather than to do two different read-throughs. So I thought that was pretty neat.
That's crazy.
I mean, if you can do circus jumps and giggles. Giggle jumps? What was it? Circus noises and giggle jumps.
Yeah, circle noises, giggle jumps.
If you can do that, you can alternate voices.
I mean, Roger Craig Smith, he does Batman on Batman Unlimited. He does Captain America on Avengers Assemble. He does Assassin's Creed 2. I think he's Ezio.
I don't know, but doesn't he do a bunch of voices or a couple voices on like Family Guy, American Dad?
Yeah, he does. What was it? Star versus the Forces of Evil.
He's got a lot.
Sonic Boom. I mean, he's on even like the feature film, The Star, that's out right now.
Oh yeah, okay. He's a voice. in that.
Yeah, he's a voice in that as well.
Man, we got to get into voice acting, bruh.
Jeez, we got to get there.
I got to work on my circus giggles.
I've been working on my Cookie Mouse, so don't you worry.
Yes, you have. Speaking of Cookie Mouse. Oh boy! So it's gonna haunt my dreams.
Yeah,
all the animal friends are over at Oliver's house, but it turns out Oliver can't stick around and hang out with everybody. Him and the other kids, they got places to be. What's going on in town?
They have a big rehearsal for a show that they're doing later that night, and so they're doing some type of a musical theatrical experience that evening at the school, and so they have a final dress and tech rehearsal that they have to attend. The entire time that Oliver is getting ready to leave, Mouse is very like, what are you doing? Like, can I come and check it out? Like,
he's like borderline curious / nosy. I don't know which way he's kind of like. Yeah.
No, he's very nosy.
He's very nosy.
He's very nosy to the point that he even gets trapped in Oliver's backpack and rides along to school with him because of how nosy he is, and then leaves all the other animals in Oliver's kitchen.
Yeah.
Presumably, Oliver's mom is just hanging out with a bunch of animals the entire time.
The only time we see Oliver's mom is when literally they have made and cut out all these cookies, done the whole process. I'm assuming she put them in the oven, but she comes in, opens the oven with the oven mitt, and then pulls them out and sets them on the counter, and then just leaves without a word. So there's her son with a mouse and a bunch of other animals chilling in the kitchen, and she just pieces out without a word. I don't even think takes this kid to school. Doesn't ask him, like, do you have your antlers? Do you have your book bag? Are you ready to go?
So that was the one. So one, I think that the mom, I can sympathize with her because she's like, I'm tired of cleaning up after these animals. They come into my kitchen and shit all over the place.
These animals just shit where they walk, and I'm tired of it.
I'm sick and tired of that. And did you think that it was at least a little bit rude that Oliver is running around his house looking for a pair of antlers, and he has a moose that's sitting and standing in his kitchen there? I was like, that seems like some weird, because he's putting on like a headdress that has moose antlers. I was like, that feels like possibly some weird cultural appropriation that I'm not aware of.
I thought you were saying, like, isn't it weird that he's looking for antlers when moose is right there? And
he should have just cut off. No, I was just
my
like,
brain went.
I was like, that felt very kind of rude that he's just like, oh, I'm gonna go look for these antlers, these fake antlers that I need.
Bullwinkle standing over there in the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Real upset about it.
But
I think they were reindeer antlers, so I think they're just distant cousins, so they should be okay. Yeah. But this is like the only time we see Oliver flustered, which was weird because it's like the only time he's upset is when he's late for an appointment, kind of thing. He seems a little high strung. I'm a little concerned for Oliver. He might be like an overachiever. He might need to cool it a little bit.
Or he might just be somebody who takes things well in strides, but then kind of buries and represses all of his emotions about stuff. And one day he's just gonna snap. Like, Mouse is gonna be something. He's like, well, you give a mouse a cookie, and he's just gonna throw him against the wall.
Oh my god!
What? This episode has gotten dark. Let's just embrace how fucking dark this episode is right now, Dave.
Okay, so this reminds me of, I think, the pilot for Good Doctor on, I want to say, ABC, which apparently I don't know why people are watching, but there's an amazing scene where I think it's Freddie Highmore plays an autistic doctor. That is not my words, that is the show's words. And his younger self had like a bunny, and I guess his dad got so upset with him. You don't want to be drinking while I tell you this story. His dad got so upset with him, he grabbed the bunny like by the head and just threw it over his shoulder at the wall and just smashed this bunny against the wall and kept talking to him. And somehow this is like the network's like #1 rated new show of the season.
I mean, it's
These
must-see
people are
TV.
crazy. Is it?
I don't know if that's their catch
I think
line
so.
on it. That's incredible. That's
Yikes.
so
Let's get-
fucked up. So
let's get-
fucked up.
We're gonna edit a clean version of this. It's only gonna be 10 minutes long.
It's gonna be the intro and then the outro, and
That's it. Thanks for stopping by. All right. So Mouse heads to school with Oliver. Oliver finds him. How does he find him? How do we know that Mouse is there?
We know the mouse is there because he's in the backpack, and they begin singing, and it's like, if a mouse hears a song, then he's got to sing along. And guess what? He is singing in the key of hot garbage because he's way off. Everybody knows that it's him. As they're conducting this final song, they begin to hear somebody singing along in the background, and it is very distracting to the point where they have to stop production, halt production, find out who's there, and just be like, Mouse, you got to get the hell out of here, buddy.
It was cute, though, because he was just like, oh, Mouse. He's just like, that's just my buddy Mouse. So he's kind of like making excuses for him at the same time, but he's like, yeah, you're going to have to go. The cute thing about it was Oliver keeps telling Mouse, like, look, we've got something special planned. We just need to rehearse and everything's going to be cool. You just wait. Just be patient and wait. And there's your lesson for the night. All he had to do is be patient, wait till the night of the show, or wait till the hour that the show was going to air. And then he'd get to see everything that they had practiced and what Oliver had planned for him and all kinds of stuff. It would have been a boring day for us because we'd just get to see him sitting around. But that's the lesson.
But it's incredible because there's nothing about Mouse that says or that screams anything about impulse control. He is so impulsive. He is so reactive to everything. And this whole terrible if-then logic, he just applies to everything in his life. He's just like, well, if there's a cookie, I got to get a glass of milk. Like, if they're singing, I got to sing. You know, if there's a mountain of snow, I gotta start doing cocaine. Like, there's so much shit that happens in this where he's like, I have to do this thing. It's like, no, you don't have to do any of this.
It's a little neurotic. It's like caught between fun and neuroses. Yeah.
Yes. So, to Oliver's point, he needs to be patient and he needs to understand how to wait for these good things that will come to him. It's not like
gonna be a nice surprise, right?
It's not like Oliver's being a jerk and he's just like, oh, I'm hanging out with these other mice. These other
Seeing some mice on the side.
I'm seeing some side mice. What?
Just putting some butter on them feet, letting them skate, making some cookies. The usual.
But like, he's not saying anything negative or destructive about it. It's just, I have this thing that I want to surprise you with. Please wait until tonight and I can show you everything and you will really enjoy it. Trust me. But at the same time, if Oliver really is such a good friend to Mouse, he would understand that Mouse has absolutely no impulse control. Right. And he would just be like, you know what? I did this thing and it's about you and you're going to love it. So just come to the rehearsals and then give me some notes and some feedback afterwards because I want to make sure that this is all about you, buddy.
But that is not what happens. What happens is the kids are having the rehearsal. The animals are kicked out. So, of course, Mouse doesn't listen to what Oliver says. He needs to know what's going on. Hell or high water. Has to figure out what's going on. But they're locked outside. So they rig basically a weird like 3-headed snowman to pile up the snow high enough so that he can peek in the window. The problem is, by the time it took him to do that, the kids are gone. Kids are on a bus and they're headed home. The other good news, though, is that now the animals can wander inside and check out what's going on. So they've kind of got free reign to check out the stage and see all the decorations and maybe even play a little piano with a menorah on it. Maybe even do a little pig dance. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that? Been like on a stage that's all set up and have like the whole auditorium is like free. There's like nobody there. You can just kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of theater and I've done a lot of acting and musicals over my lifetime where I've definitely been in like full auditoriums or full stages or black box theaters where nobody's been there, and I can kind of just do my own thing, and it's nice. It's freeing.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever completely destroyed a production design and set decoration? Purely accidentally or intentionally?
I to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
I am so because I know that so many hours and time, and I've spent so much time in my life uh focused on that craft and doing work within that arena, that any time that I could think to myself like, oh, I should play with this, or oh, I can fuck around with this. I I'm scared of props masters. I'm scared of stage
Exactly.
masters.
Yeah.
I'm scared of anybody who's there who is going to potentially just be like, "What are you doing? Knock that off! Don't ever touch that again." To the point where like I actually will not do that kind of stuff backstage,
Yeah.
even if I'm alone, even if I have all the time in the world.
So you wouldn't just like randomly ballerina dance across the stage?
I no, I had a friend in a show that was in DC where we were in a shared space, and there was a production that was going on, uh, that was coming up, and they had built the sets for this other theatrical production, and we were
Yeah.
performing in their space
Okay.
on top of that set that was built. And my friend Chris Ulrich got really excited at certain
I love
points.
that you name dropped him.
Yeah, name drop.
Yeah.
And he moved in a way where like he hit his head in something and like almost broke part of a set and almost put a nail through his head. And I was like,
Ooh.
"What are you doing?" Like, I. I'm a stage. I feel like I'm a stage dad without any kids, and I feel like other performers are just my children. I'm just like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. Stop it. I get neurotic about that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really had any of those kind of experiences. So for this, essentially what we're all leading up to is the animals are all up there, but nobody's really watching them. So they're kind of having a fun time, and they end up destroying the entire set. They knock over a stage lamp, they set the decorations on fire, the sprinklers go off, they soak everything. The candy canes, the decorations, the paint, the Christmas tree, it's all ruined. Everything's shot. So because Mouse has this impulse control problem, and really need to know what was going on with this play that's going to arrive in a couple of hours, he basically ruined the entire thing for everybody. What's crazy is I didn't sense a whole lot of like remorse from him, because
Not at all.
Cat jumps in and is like, that's fine, we'll fix it. Everything was very like positive, but at the same time there was never like a moment for like, you done fucked up and you need to take a moment to recognize that you are responsible for this.
Well, because they have at this moment, I think maybe the credo, motto, a main idea from this entire show is, if there's a problem, then there has to be a solution.
Right, which is fine. But
Sure, but at the same
if
time,
you're the problem, then what's the solution? If a mouse is a problem,
yeah, then you
call an exterminator.
then you put him on that ABC show with that kid, and then you just whip him at the back of a wall.
Just whip him at a wall.
Jeez.
So essentially, most of this this Christmas special, and it does run about 40 minutes, by the way. This is kind of like a double or even a triple special for this show. Most of the plot focuses on all the animals repairing the stage, or at least trying to.
Right.
So they need to go out and find decorations. Cat is left behind painting. Mouse and Moose go out and try to find a tree. All kinds of fun stuff. So what from that really jumps out at you, for whatever reason? Anything?
The moment where Mouse and Moose are trying to purchase a Christmas tree,
Okay.
and Mouse parkour climbs up this pole to get on the same like level, the eye level, as this human who is selling these Christmas trees, and they're just like, "We'd like this one," and he's like, "All right, well, cash or charge," and he's like, "I don't know what those words mean," and he goes, "Okay, so how do you want to pay for the tree? Do you want to pay in cash, or do you want to pay with a credit card?" And he's like, "I don't have either of those things, or any money, or a wallet." And I was like, okay, let's hard pause right now, because when we started this entire adventure,
Mhm.
it began with a bunch of animals that were not mouse, smelling the wafts of cookies, and we definitely saw at one point that Moose was in a living room in a house with no supervision, which leads me to believe that
Right.
he has the concept of fucking money, of finances, and possibly even a mortgage. Because
if you give him Moose a mortgage,
that's what I wanted. And so
he's gonna declare bankruptcy.
he's probably very, very quickly. And
They are moose. This isn't a speciesist thing or a racist thing. Moose generally are just not good with money.
But they're
just not.
The TLDR of this is that they're kind of a shoot aside. They tell the story about why they want the tree, and it turns out that this guy.
Story.
It turns out that the guy who was going to sell them the tree was listening, and he's just like, "That's the saddest story I've ever heard. You know what? You guys can have a tree. You guys can have the biggest tree here. I'm gonna go call my mother." And it's just
Basically,
I don't know what
that's almost like an exact reproduction of that guy's performance.
Because I've rehearsed that now several times, and I've just thought that it was funny. It was a little sweet. It was a little touching. Very predictable, but at the same time, like it managed to sort of get the point across of just I don't understand. The point that it got across for me is that these are animals living in a human world that don't understand money and finances, and that just they have this terrible entitlement where these things are just gonna fucking come to them, and they're not gonna have to deal with any repercussions, and they're not gonna have to do if you give a mouse a college degree, like it's just gonna be one of those things where he's just like, I'm not gonna pay this loan back. To me, it was so difficult to watch at times because I was like, this is not how the world works.
For most people, the problem is that Mouse reminds me, and probably you, of people that we've known in our lives where they fuck everything up, and then other people bail them out, or just the world magically realigns for them so that they find their way out of the shit. This cartoon should not have frustrated me that much for something like that, because that's not what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
But when things like, okay, so Mouse and his buddies destroyed the set. They're under a time crunch. They've got to get all this stuff back in place to either at least patch it up or at least make it look presentable before they ruin everything for all these kids who put all this hard work into it. And they're aware of it, and they know that they've only got a few hours. But in the meantime, Moose and Mouse, and I think, I can't remember who else was with them at the time, but they go out and Mouse sees an ice skating rink. And he's like, we should go ice skating. I think it's dog and pig at the same time.
Yeah,
they're all just like,
it's all four but Cat.
It's everybody except Cat, because Cat's doing the work. It drove me crazy because he's just like, I know we screwed everything up and we got like a bunch of stuff to do. We should probably take a break and go ice skating. And nobody says anything about it. Nobody's like a voice of reason. Moose is just scared because he's nervous about ice skating. That's it.
And this is this action immediately happens after they have an entire conversation about time management and not understanding how long 2 hours is.
Yeah.
It was
Mixed
frustrating.
messages, guys.
Jesus.
Mixed messages. I do like that at some point, the Moose, I think he sneezes, and he gets completely covered in snow from a roof of a barn.
That was your moment from the errand section of this that you were like,
I like it. No. I like it because when Oliver shows up to help, he's looking for Mouse. They tell him where Mouse was because they're trying to get a sled, right? They're trying to get a sleigh for the show. But all the other kids and all the other animals are back at the play place now, and they're getting ready to go. They're getting ready to perform. But they're like, Oliver and Mouse, they're not here. We need to buy some time. Meanwhile, Oliver, chill as hell. It's Christmas Eve. It's Christmas Eve. He's supposed to be at this play. Everything's been ruined. At some point, he told Mouse earlier, because Mouse and his buddies tried to patch everything up, and it wasn't great, but they did their best. I think they used like their Christmas cookies as decorations and all kind of stuff. And Oliver even says to him, he's like, Mouse, even if you messed everything up, it's totally cool, man. The play will still go on. It doesn't matter if we have all the best decorations or not. We're still going to do this play. So again, there's no like repercussions. There's no real lesson learned. He's just like, it's totally chill, man. Like, it's going to be fine. Just ease up. It's fine. Oh, by the way, let's go dig Moose out of the snow where you left him buried in an avalanche trying to find a sled. So Oliver and him are out there, and he's digging him out, and Oliver says this: if your friend gets stuck in a barn on Christmas Eve, then you got to get him out, no matter what. It's like, that's a great lesson.
That's a great lesson.
That's a great lesson. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Boy, anything else jump out at you from this before we get to the end of this episode here?
Now it's there was the one line when they're about to purchase a Christmas tree, and then they're bounced, where Moose just goes,
Bounced.
he goes, I guess the lesson is that trees don't grow on trees. And I was like,
Moose.
oh, buddy, all right, go back to knitting.
Maybe he's in an assisted living home.
I don't think that that's what that is. And if it is, why are they just letting him out? Because he smells other neighbors baking.
Maybe it's not a very secure assisted living home.
Yeah, I mean, put an ankle
Uh,
monitor on this guy. It's nuts.
Yikes, on his incredibly thin ankles. So eventually everything is fine, but Mouse, Oliver, and Moose, they're still not quite back at the play. So in order to buy time, we turn to Cat once again, who has a brilliant idea for what to do in order to buy more time for the gathered audience of roughly 4 or 5 strange adults who just came to watch this kid's play.
Right.
So what do we do to buy time?
So you might remember that this whole sort of fiasco began when Pig decided to dance, and
Right.
it was a ballet dance.
I think she even said, like, it happened. She was like, I'll never dance again.
Right. So she gets she seems remorseful about what she's done.
Yeah.
A little
More
bit.
embarrassed, I think,
Yeah.
than anything. Yeah.
So this point, they need to stall for time in order to get Oliver to the theater.
Yeah,
He's
he's
still-
got the last kind of song, the last performance of the night.
He's still in the process of digging out Moose, but he's en route, and so they're like, we need to do something else. So Kat decides to do what we've talked about previously, the dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies.
Yeah.
And this is where we have Pig, who a little bit hesitant to dance, but they realize that it's for Oliver, and so to be a good friend,
And
they go out and they help.
Kat inspired her.
Correct.
Kat was like, you get out there and you dance like you never danced before. And it was an interesting kind of like a very sweet moment between two of them, but like kind of intense.
And
at
that
the same
moment
time.
where it was like, I'm so excited, and I just
Yeah.
can't hide it. I was like, well, all
was
right,
great.
yeah, this is good. I'm digging this.
Yeah, good job, Flashdance.
Yeah.
Flashdance Pig. It was a good time.
Flashdance.
So they-
Pig.
Flashdance Pig. They bought enough time for Oliver to show up and to read his special surprise poem about his buddy.
Yeah,
Did you write it down? I didn't.
I did not either, because
Nah.
it wasn't that great of a poem. To be honest,
not
it
great.
was not that fantastic of a poem. But I'll say this:
To close out your Christmas
Yeah,
time,
right.
kind of a weak ending there, guys.
the poem wasn't great, but the sentiment
Yes.
behind it of Mouse is my good friend, Mouse is my best friend. It feels like Christmas every day when I'm around my good friend Mouse. That resonated more than the actual garbage poetry slam that we witnessed.
Yeah, I mean it was sweet, and it was also very frustrating because like, that was the big thing that all Mouse had to do was chill for a couple of hours, and he would have had it. It would have been fine. But it's fine. Everything worked out fine anyway. The poor teacher who was in charge of the play will probably never sign up for that duty again because she about pulled her own hair out from that frustration. But that's not it, because guess what? It's Christmas Eve, which means after one more sleep, it's Christmas morning.
Yeah. And
But what if a mouse can't sleep through the night because he's so excited?
then he'll probably go downstairs and get a glass of milk.
But if you give a mouse a glass of milk,
Then he's got to go.
probably gonna
He's
want a cookie.
then he's gonna want a cookie. And guess what?
What?
They used all the cookies as the ornaments for
Oh shit!
during the actual school production. So there are no
Way to
more.
go, mouse.
There are no more cookies.
Hold on, there's one more.
Or are there?
Or is there?
Or is them? I don't know.
There's one more cookie.
Yeah.
But it's Santa's cookie. I feel like that's like sacred.
But you
I
should-
feel like you leave that alone.
But you should take like a little nibble. Like, what if you took a
Like a mouse
little,
bite?
like a little nibble, little mouse
like
nibble,
a mouse bite.
like a little.
Let's talk about hygiene again.
Yeah, I know.
Because here's where. Remember how Santa opened the show here and he was looking a little green?
Yeah.
And we went on to that whole diatribe about a Santa flu killing the species. So Mouse nibbles at the cookie, and then lo and behold, Santa shows up, and then he just extends his little paw out, and Santa takes a bite of that same cookie. And then to make matters worse, they drink out of the same glass of milk, 2 straws.
Different straws though, so
different straws, I guess, but the mouse has already been like swamming in that glass of
Oh,
milk.
gross.
Who knows what's in that milk?
It's
And who knows how long that milk's been sitting out?
it's like avian bird flu now. It's like rodent flu is what I'm
Yeah.
concerned about. I never thought that I was concerned about rodent flu before, but now it is top of my priorities.
I am less concerned about direct contraction of rodent flu and more concerned about the transmission of rodent flu to a Santa carrier who will, on the night of Christmas Eve, infect roughly 70% of the population of Earth. I don't know if it's quite that high or not. That's a lot of people who are going to have rodent flu in the morning for Christmas.
Truthfully, if
I don't know
I go upstairs and there is a mouse that is swimming around in my cashew milk, I'm gonna lose my fucking shit.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I will burn that kitchen like you burned that stovetop. I will set it ablaze.
You will finish the job.
Yeah.
No, it was cute. I mean, it was a cute little moment. There was kind of like, with every Christmas story, it's kind of like Santa's here. It's a nice way to kind of end that.
Yeah.
They didn't push it too far. They didn't go to like Christmas morning and see what happened with Oliver and his mom and whether or not his dad's there and Mouse and any of the other
Whoa, you got
characters.
real snide with
What?
that,
I
buddy.
don't know what you're talking about.
You got real
I don't know what you're talking
snippy.
Well, here's the thing.
You creeping on that
So,
mom?
I mean,
You creeping on that mom? Yo, what up, Mrs. Oliver?
Mrs. Oliver.
Yeah.
Mrs. the Mouse.
Let Dave know what your Twitter handle is. Let him slide in them DMs.
Yeah, what are you up to? What are you doing this Christmas?
Oh, Jesus.
That's super weird. Hopefully she'll survive the Santa flu.
Oh,
2017.
Jesus.
All right. This is about as bad as it can get. So, any final thoughts before we get to recommendations tonight?
I'm good, buddy.
Yeah, I think I got nothing left. We've already. I wanted this to be a super clean, nice, family-friendly podcast. Just didn't work out that way.
When is this in 182 episodes? When has this ever been a family-friendly podcast?
I thought we could have one.
One.
I just wanted one.
Maybe.
But I didn't want it bad enough to make it.
You know what?
way.
You know what? Let's shoot for next week. Let's see if we can do next week.
Yeah. I think we can do next week. We got some more holiday theme stuff coming
And then
up. I think we can manage.
next week I'll always be like, let's just shoot for the following week.
Let's just shoot for next year.
Yep. 2018, the year that we do one family-friendly episode.
Maybe. It'll be a special bonus episode.
Yeah, probably.
But before we get to our recommendations tonight, I feel like maybe somebody else out there has something to say.
Hey guys, we obviously have opinions about the show, but before we get to review them, we are going to listen to you on the internet because guess what? You have opinions and we want to be respectful. To help us out with these opinions, we are going to turn it over to Bobby Anthem for this week's Love It or Hate It. Bobby, take it away, buddy.
Your Love It this week was written by Frangelica on December 10th, 2016. She gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and this is titled, Heartwarming, Joyous Animated Movie for All to Watch and Enjoy. She said, I love this animated holiday treat. I love the animation and the storyline, and especially the poem spoken about Mouse. This movie warmed my heart and made me smile and laugh. It truly increased my joy for my favorite time of year, Christmas. Mouse is so adorable. And Your Hated was submitted by an Amazon customer on January 23rd, 2017, who gave it 1 out of 5 stars and called this one fake. I thought this was supposed to be based on a true story. It is not.
I laughed so hard listening to that Hate It.
It's like a present that I didn't even have to unwrap. It was just given to me, fully formed.
I lost my mind at work today when I read that email. Oh, I had the mouse giggles just the entire day. It was just
You had the circus giggles.
Circus giggles.
Good one.
Hashtag circus giggles. Jeez,
Oh, boy.
man. All right. Whew. I don't know about you. I'm gonna recommend this.
You're going to recommend it?
I'm gonna recommend it. I think it's fun. I'm not the audience, but I think that there is enough pleasant sort of holiday spirit that is instilled into this. I loved the fact that the animation captured a lot from the original works and books.
Yeah.
I thought that was delightful. I thought that this was very fun, and if I had children, this would be something that I would definitely want to be. I would want to have accessible to them to watch during the holiday, because I think that it's fun, it's easy, it's not as destructive or as cynical as this podcast itself.
Yeah, for real.
So I would recommend this if you have children and you're looking for a fun holiday classic that possibly captures the magic of the 1985 books. I think that this is something great to kind of bring you from that bah humbug into that holiday spirit.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a lot of fun. It was a lot like the books that I remembered, but obviously they added a lot more to it to flesh out its own, 42-minute story. But it feels like one of those holiday specials that little kids can watch every year. You can watch it year after year after year. It'll kind of become like a family favorite. It really does feel like that. We poke a lot of fun at it. But honestly, that's because we're 30-somethings talking about a cartoon that's meant for like 5-year-old kids. So obviously we're going to pull it apart a little bit. But for the most part, a little bit of mixed messages here and there, but to keep it very simple, it was solid for little kids. Very entertaining, very uplifting, very positive.
Yes.
And super colorful and fun, and has a good kind of holiday spirit too, without kind of like hitting you over the head with Christmas stuff or Christmas versus anything else, which is a nice escape from the rest of the world these days. So yeah, I'll recommend it as well. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
And a nice new addition to kind of like the Christmas cartoons in the canon,
Yeah.
A nice addition. I like
Fun.
that. And that's just the first of more holiday themed stuff coming up this month on Saturday Morning Cartoons. But to find out exactly what we're talking about, you're going to have to head on over to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Cartoons. Remember, that's morning with you. In order to get subscribed to our newsletter by supporting us each and every week and each and every month here at SMC. But in the meantime, Sean, buddy, what do you have going on in the next couple of weeks leading up to the holidays?
Hey guys, as always, I do live improv comedy in Washington, D.C. with a group that is called Nox. That's NOX exclamation point. We perform with Washington Improv Theater. You can find out tickets and times witdc.org. And I'm always on Twitter and Instagram and the shimmies at Sean Paul Ellis.
You can find me on Twitter at Dr. ClawMD. You can also find me on Collider.com, Nerdist.com, and DaveDrumbohr.com. If you're interested in finding out more about this little show right here, where we do terrible, dark things to otherwise pure children's cartoons, head on over to our website, SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Follow along on Twitter at MorningTunes. Check out Sean's handiwork on our Instagram page. Is it a feed or a page? Instagram feed?
It's a page. Instagram page.
Okay, we'll go page.
Yeah, page.
Instagram page. Keep the conversation going on Facebook and listen to our free audio podcast each and every week through iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. And YouTube, too, if you want to drop a copyright infringement notice on us, too. Feel free to drop on over there. In the meantime, if you want to reach out to us, wish us some happy holiday greetings, drop us an email, SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. That's going to wrap it up for If You Give a Mouse a Christmas Cookie. But we'll be back next week with some more holiday shenanigans, and we promise we'll try to brighten it up. Maybe we'll drink beforehand. But thanks for listening. Circus giggles! See you next time.
Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to transform and roll out.